On the cooperation between Yaoundé and Malabo, President Paul Biya sends a message to the President of Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Obiangema Bazogo, which message was delivered Thursday at the People's Palace in Malabo. The new Bishop of Ezeka, His Lordship Francois Achille Yabi, has been installed into his ecclesiastical function with a call to rally the faithful for mass evangelism. With 8 days to the start of the African Nations Championship, the CHAN, preparations are rising to fever pitch as the different local organizing committees, media men and the football team say they are ready. Good evening and welcome. I am Benen Bumagana. This is the 7:30 News.
I have personally observed that most of our fellow citizens no longer comply with the protective measures prescribed by the government.
We open this newscast with news from Malabo. The Minister of State, Secretary General of the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Gongo, has delivered a message from President Paul Biya to the President of Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Obiangema Bazogo, during an audience granted a Cameroonian special envoy Thursday at the People's Palace in Malabo. Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashu Nyenti has the details.
President Paul Biya continues to normalize relations between Cameroon and its southern neighbor Equatorial Guinea. This Thursday, January 7, 2021, the president dispatched one of his closest collaborators and confidants, the Minister of State, Secretary General of the Presidency, Ferdinand Ngongo, to convey a written message to his Equatorial counterpart, Teodoro Obiangema. Paul Biya's special envoy is received at the People's Palace in Malabo in the presence of Equatorial Guinea's Minister of State in charge of integration, Balthazar Ngonga Ejo, and Cameroon's ambassador to Equatorial Guinea, Jean-Claude Désiré Owono Mengele. Information obtained at source indicates that the two countries desire to strengthen relations in the domains of piracy, terrorism, and COVID-19 management.
L'objet de ma mission était de porter.
The purpose of my mission was to deliver President Paul Biya to his brother and friend, President Teodoro Obiangema. The message seeks to strengthen the excellent cooperation ties that bind Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea. The Minister of State, Secretary General of the Presidency, Ferdinand Ngongo, who says he was, in his own words, well received, has thus accomplished a strategic mission that intends to warm up relations between both countries on behalf of his principal. Little wonder Ngongo leaves the People's Palace with a sentiment of a mission accomplished.
The project manager of construction works at the site to host the National Assembly, Robert Mbanga Achu, says the project is 40% done. During a visit to the construction site by the President of the National Assembly, Kavayege Jibril, the project manager revealed that in spite of the 5-month delay caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the construction is advancing as planned. Charles Anyangwe reports.
In about 36 months, this gigantic project for the construction of a new National Assembly for Cameroon will come to fruition, everything being equal. To galvanize workers and ensure that all is okay, the President of the National Assembly, the Right Honorable Kavayege Jibril, visited the site to appreciate the level of advancement of construction works. At the moment, 40% of the work has been executed at the level of the hemicycle, 25% at the banquet hall, and 5% for the offices.
Problem of COVID-19 which has prevented most of the technical, specialized labor staff of the Chinese company to come into Cameroon.
The president of the National Assembly, Kavayege Jibril, gave firm instructions that the work should be accelerated and urged the project coordinator to ensure that the former hemicycle be preserved.
We will keep it as our museum.
The project coordinator, Honorable Datuo Theodore, made it clear that most of the construction materials are available and added that by the end of December 2021, some 28 Chinese engineers will beef up the staff strength to ensure that the project is complete within the next 36 months.
The General Delegation for National Security says it had updated its identity cards and passport protection system and can now produce larger quantities in shorter delays. During a press conference this Friday at the headquarters in Yaoundé, officials said complaints that there are delays in issuing ID cards and passports will no longer be relevant with these new developments. Beatrice Losamba tells us more from the press conference.
Word had spread like wildfire on social media that it had become extremely tough to acquire national identity cards and passports, and this provoked clarifications from the Delegate General for National Security.
Since the 9th August 2016, a new security system for the Cameroonian nationality was put in place at the General Delegation for National Security. Today, the Cameroonian nationality is well secure.
From recent developments, therefore, the service of producing national ID cards remains active in 280 identification posts and 50 other mobile posts. The process will gain more speed soon when the Garoua Secondary Production Center goes operational. Complaints about delays in the withdrawal of the document may find answers in some 245,000 ID cards abandoned in posts across the country. As for double identity holders, their case is being addressed.
More than 3 million Cameroonians who have personally changed elements of their civil status data find themselves in a situation of double identities and other usurpations.
With regard to passports, the General Delegation for National Security reports pretty soon a new secured and modern passport that will be issued in record 48 hours.
Thousands of persons who were internally displaced as a result of socio-political crisis in the southwest region have received a special humanitarian assistance from President Paul Biya. The package was handed over to them Thursday by the governor of the southwest region, Bernard Okalia Bilai. Among the beneficiaries of the special presidential package to victims of the socio-political crisis are refugees who fled, persons who fled their homes in Mamfe to neighboring Nigeria, but were back to receive the package. Kanga William Wasaloku tells us more.
Different ideologies.
How nice is it to be back home? These are some of the over 600 refugees that fled the country to neighboring Nigeria due to the terror. Today they are back in their motherland and are lucky recipients of President Paul Biya's assistance package comprising mattresses, beds, mosquito nets, blanket and food items. Receiving the consignment in the public ceremony Thursday in Mamfe, presided by Southwest Governor Bernard Okalia Bilai, the refugees expressed gratitude to the head of state for the timely gesture.
Coming back home, I'm glad to be in my father's land. At least I can hold on to what I have and I can stay happily in my father's land.
I don't feel like somebody even cry when I remember the past. So I overglad for the place quite so.
The distribution ceremony, which is the first phase of a special plan of the distribution of President Paul Biya's assistance package, destined to 1,000 internally displaced Cameroonians and 600 refugees in Manu Division, will continue in Akwaya and the Umojok subdivisions in the days ahead.
Some officials of the Cameroon Defense and Security Forces in Bamenda have received medals of recognition for their efforts in the fight to restore normalcy in the crisis-hit Northwest region. The officials include 4 senior military officers and a personnel of the Defense Gendarmerie Corps. Presiding over the ceremony, Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique challenged them to step up their peace efforts in the region. Julius Neba reports.
The decorated senior military and gendarmerie officers were comprised of 3 knights in the Order of Valor, 3 knights of the Cameroon Order of Merit, 6 medalists of merit of the public forces, and 1 officer of the Order of Valor. Decorating them, Adolphe Lele Lafrique applauded their efficacy in strategizing, protecting persons and their property, and encouraged them to continue in the same vein. The recipients, amongst whom was General Ekongwese, said the recognition has boosted their morale to continue providing selfless services to the nation.
When you are awarded some recognition like this one, you can only be happy to see that your input is being recognized. I give special thanks to the head of state who recognition to me and to the rest of my hierarchy.
The award ceremony of the senior military and gendarmerie officers was carried forward from May 20, 2020.
We are at the end of the first week of classes for the second term of the 2020-2021 academic school year. Teachers in some schools in Yaoundé say attendance has been encouraging, with many more students promising to work hard for better results this term. Here is a balance sheet of the first week of classes by Joy Starter.
5 days of concentration, discipline and focus on studies wraps up today after a 2-week festive period. The second term of the 2020-2021 school year is on, an opportunity for students to make right the wrongs of the first term. The term begins on a good footing in GBHS Itukebe. School administration affirms.
We started off very well. At least the turnout was so encouraging. The students came there on time. The teachers were present. And we can say that we registered about 80% success rate. We held the general staff meeting on Wednesday the 6th. No, it's not a normal school year with the activities. Now we have just about 40 minutes of teaching hours to be there.
It is a semester which authorities say is charged with various activities in the nation, and so it is salient everyone makes use of available time right from the start to register excellent results this school year.
Students in examination classes in secondary schools in the Bolivar are rounding off last-minute registration formalities for the GCE, BAC and probatoire examinations. Derish Alengi visited some schools in the town of Bolivar and reports that despite the financial hardship, students and parents are doing their best to meet up with the deadline. His report.
With barely 8 more days to hit the deadline, the pressure at the office of the Vice Principal of Government Bilingual High School Bolova gains momentum. Students with their documents in hand take turns to submit their files for registration. Evaluated at about 60%, the Vice Principal says they are hoping the students register before the deadline.
The way the calendars are coming is also slow, because if up to now we are ending the registration procedure by next week on the 15th, and I'm still about 60%. We're expected to have done more than this. I may believe that most of the parents are also still struggling to have the money to pay.
At the Lycée Classique et Moderne de Bolova, the school authorities say the percentage of candidates registered stands at 91%, a turnout that's globally satisfactory.
The lone engineer with Cameroonian origin, a member of the General Atomic Structure in the United States of America, Asen Biwole Tema, is in the country for an experience-sharing visit. The nuclear engineer and physics lecturer at the Federal Polytechnic of Lausanne in Switzerland will meet government officials, representatives of the UN system in Cameroon, and now offer lectures in some universities and schools. After the first audience with the Minister of Youth and Civic Education, Mununa Fotso, Asen Biwole Tema spoke to CRTV's Gilbert Ongene. Hear him.
It was impossible to say no to my country, because it's my dream since I was a child. So I'm mainly a teacher. So even in my career, I actually teach physics. If you teach and you try to share your passion, somehow the the students will like it and probably will also take the same path as you. For the people at the university, it will be more easy because in Lausanne we are trying to have this nice collaboration between the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology and some schools here in Cameroon. The idea is that even if we go there, we come back to share with the other and build our nation.
And now let's go to one of our top stories. The third bishop of the Executive Diocese, His Lordship Francois Achille Yabi, has been installed into his ecclesiastical function as a diocesan bishop of the diocese. While officiating at the liturgical ceremony today in Ezeka, the Archbishop of Douala, His Grace Samuel Kleda, urged him to improve on the spiritual growth of the flock under his spiritual care. The ceremony took place in the presence of the Minister of Territorial Administration, representative of the head of state, Paul Biya. Ebude Kane reports.
Francois Achille Eyabi is the third bishop to head the Ezeka diocese, which was established in March 1993 under the ecclesiastic province of Douala. The missions, as described by the officiating man of God, His Grace Samuel Kleda, during the episcopal ordination, is to bring Christ closer to the Christians, amongst others.
He draws them from the three Christic missions of Christ, that is, teaching, leading, and sanctifying. Teaching because the people of God is always in need to know the way, the best way to go to God. With regard to sanctification, of course we are sinners, and the bishop is there to offer to the people of God all the means which can help him to move ahead while running away from sin. Then the last mission is to govern.
To the Christians, they were urged to give their total support to their new shepherd. In this light, they will help the man of God to attain his objectives.
Brother Quantra Marie-Claire, though, still on the same beat, this time talking with Reverend Father Laurent Balloch on the missions of the new bishop. Away from church, let's get over to the far north region where one person is reported dead and several others wounded, with thousands of hectares of farmland destroyed following an elephant invasion in Mulvudai in the Mayokani division of the far north region this week. Now the population sleep with an eye and an ear open. A team from the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife found the field to evaluate the damage and to comfort the people. Henry Tato Ekambi traveled to Mulvudai and brought back the complete story.
It is in this farmland that a 13-year-old boy lost his life after he was trampled upon by stray elephants in an attempt to flee from the animals alongside other villagers. Many were injured and hectares of farmland in Gudum in Mulvudai Mayokani division of the far north were destroyed by the elephant herds. The elephants raided my farmland and ruined nearly everything, and that was my only source of income. Officials of the Delegation of Forestry and Wildlife, who descended to the site of the incident, say the ill-fated event occurred because the population encroached into the road of these elephants.
Migration corridors of elephants has been occupied by houses and farms. The Kalfu Reserve, which is about 10,000 hectares, are now too small to contain over 300 elephants. So the animals have to move to have food and water.
Experts say the solution to the conflict between elephants and the populace that has led to the death of many in the Mayokani and Mayodanai divisions since 2016 is the intense sensitization of the villagers and the evacuation of those on elephant corridors.
The French ambassador to Cameroon, Christophe Guilou, has praised the Association of Female Staff of the French Embassy, known as Les Mariannes, for their work in helping the needy. The ambassador was speaking at a gala night organized by the association at the Hilton Hotel in Yaoundé. Charles Ebounet reports.
A handful of diplomats,
government officials, musicians, plus other ordinary Cameroonians gather at the Hilton Hotel here in Yaoundé. The occasion is a ceremony of the Marian, the Association of Female Staff of the French Embassy in Yaoundé, Cameroon, to celebrate their work, their humanitarian work in assisting the needy in Cameroon.
Marianne is the symbol of generosity, share, and solidarity.
In the course of the event, spiced by musical interludes from renowned Cameroonian musicians, they all dance while respecting measures put in place by the government to dispel the coronavirus pandemic.
They implement projects for the welfare of the Cameroonian population, where they could be social, they provide support to the orphans, or they could be medical.
The Marian, the Association of the Female Staff of the French Embassy in Cameroon, has been existing since 2013, and their work has been essentially humanitarian.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Let's cut into the second counter of this newscast and talk about COVID. Health professionals are urging Cameroonians to desist from spreading rumors that the coronavirus pandemic is over and continue respecting barrier measures. The health professionals warn that many more persons are getting infected every day with the virus. For the exact situation on the ground, let's join Baldwin Sama at the Public Health Emergency Center with his guest, Dr. Fokam. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Benin Bumagana. It is not yet over. It is still existing and very much present among us. We're talking about this deadly virus, the coronavirus, and Cameroonians should continue respecting these outlined barrier measures because on a daily basis, the number keeps increasing. Those who have been tested positive for the virus, and equally, Cameroonians should be aware. We discussed tonight with our guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam, what they need to know about the actual situation for this deadly virus in Cameroon. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Badi.
What's the actual situation as far as the spread of this COVID-19 is concerned, and how should it affect our daily lives?
Effectively, Baden, what we have noticed during this very recent days, we are now seeing some kind of clusters of transmission. So people who spend time in the same ceremony during this end of year period, they come up to be positive in groups. People who also spend time maybe during a burial ceremony during this period, they come up also to be positive in groups. So we are seeing a kind of new clusters infection happening, and this is quite worrying because it may lead to an easy outbreak within the community, and simply because people don't really stick to those simple basic barrier measures. And that's why we believe there is a need to recall on the respect of these barrier measures, and why not really avoid non-essential movement and also non-essential gatherings within this period where we'll also be receiving the shan, with many people coming in also from outside.
Thank you so much for that information, Doctor. We understand it is very difficult to resist invitations during these days. You cannot honor the invitations, but respect physical distancing, respect the wearing of a face mask, and equally respect the different outlined barrier measures when you honor some of these invitations, which paves the way for some gatherings, because these are opportunities during which the virus can easily spread. Back to you, Benin Bumagana.
Thank you very much, Baldwin Sama van Cayman. Now that you're talking about Shan, before we get to talk about Shan, let's go back to Ezeka, where the third bishop of the Ezeka diocese, we said His Lordship Francois Achille Eyabi, has been installed into his ecclesiastical function as the diocesan bishop of the diocese. Let's follow the ceremony with you, Bude Ekane.
The episcopal ordination of His Lordship Francois Achille Eyabi as Bishop of the Ezeka Diocese, created on March 22, 1993, started with the Pontifical Mass. Presiding at the event, the Archbishop of Douala, His Grace Samuel Kleda, challenged him to be a good shepherd by taking care of his flock for the spiritual growth of the church. While commissioning the new bishop into his functions, the officiating church ministers laid their hands on him to invoke the Holy Spirit to guide him in the daily discharge of his duties. He was later on adorned with the bishop's regalia. His Lordship Francois Achille Eyabi, aged 59, was appointed on November 14, 2020, by Pope Francis to replace His Lordship Dieudonné Bogmace, who died in 2018. The former vicar and education secretary of the Ideya Cathedral was ordained as priest on the 30th of July 1988. The highly animated event was attended by the head of state's representative, Paul Atanganji, members of government, administrative, religious and traditional authorities, as well as a cross-section of the population.
Sons and daughters of Bangwa, a village in the Ndé division of the West region, have been celebrating the rich cultural heritage of the people. This edition also marks the 20th anniversary of the accession to the throne of the traditional ruler of Bangwa, His Royal Highness Japu Chatuang Anik Julio. This report from Chetebek in CRTV West.
The rich cultural potentials of the people of Bangwa in the Ndé division has been put on the spotlight following various displays, the exhibition of different forms of works of arts and crafts, as well as artifacts that portray the area as a unique place in the entire West region. While launching the cultural jamboree, it was given out that this year's event coincides the 20th anniversary of the accession to the throne of Chief Jampu Chatuang Anik Julio. Planning for the celebration to mark 2 decades of reign are right on the way. His Majesty promised to organize many more of such cultural days so that the youth can find interest in attaching themselves to their values. Cultural dance displays by a host of groups light up minds as notables of the community symbolically handed over gifts to His Majesty.
We are champions. Talking about China and our special page in this newscast, members of the local organizing committee of the 2020 African Nations Championship, the CHAN, have reassured the population that everything is set for the tournament to begin in just 8 days. The meeting was presided over by the president of the organizing committee, Professor Narcisse Mwele Kombi. Baldwin Sama reports.
It was the last preparatory meeting ahead of the upcoming African Nations Championship, the last meeting during which reassurance was given as to Cameroon's readiness to host this great football competition. Chaired by Sports and Physical Education Minister, the different side presidents, stadium directors and committee heads explained what has been done at the different levels to make Cameroon's organization unique. Emphasis was equally laid on security measures put in place before, during and after the competition in the different cities to host matches. 25% of spectators will have access into the different stadia during the group stage, while 50% will during the second stage of the competition, with outlined measures to be respected. We wish to remind Cameroonians to strictly respect outlined measures, such as being in possession of a ticket and especially the wearing of a face mask when they're in the different stadia. Everything is set for the kickoff come January 16, 2021.
And finally, some sports journalists of the Cameroon Radio Television have come to the end of a 3-day training on running football commentaries. The CRTV Canal Plus training included theoretical and practical sessions at the CRTV Production Center in Balatu and at the Omispo Annex Stadium. Here is Daniel Ekonde with the report.
For the trainees and trainers to gather in the conference hall of the 11th floor of the CRTV to give a report card of what they have done for 3 days.
When we started this training on Wednesday, we weren't very certain of what we're going to receive, but it's really been a wonderful ride.
From Wednesday to Friday, the sports journalists and their trainers from Canal Plus took sessions in studio techniques and match commentaries.
This was an opportunity for me to kind of revise my notes and then get abreast with what is happening currently as far as covering competitions like continental tournaments.
This 3 day of training has been very, very instrumental for a sports reporter like me. I've learned quite much commenting games, preset games.
It is now set for them to perform well.
I hope CRTV will be the reference of commentaries of sports. My hope is also that everything that we have done here will be good for the channel.
Handing attestations to the participants, the technical advisor number 1 to the Director General, Augustin Chalmbia, thanked Canal Plus for the training and hoped it continues in other areas.
Thank you very much. It's with that report that we come to the end of this edition of the newscast. At 8:30, you would follow Atta Badin Oman. I will be back tomorrow. God bless you.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.
Formé au Cameroun, j'ai joué à Puma Football Club et dans le Cameroun de Yaoundé. Mon rêve a toujours été de voir une grande compétition se jouer sur le sol camerounais. Venez nombreux vivre les moments inédits du football africain.
Total African Nations Championship Cameroon 2020.
Le Cameroun célèbre le talent sportif africain. Du 16 janvier au 7 février 2021, dans les sites de Yaoundé, Fandena, Douala, Bepanda, Douala, Japoma et Limbe, Bouéa.